Welcome to another video for biology. In this video I'm going to be discussing plant pigments and photosynthesis. Alright, so here I have a diagram of plant pigments, the different types of pigments that we're going to be highlighting in this video. The two main ones are the chlorophylls and the carotenoids. So take a look at the chlorophylls first. You have two types of chlorophylls, chlorophyll A and B. Both of them a different shade of green, but primarily the part I want you to remember is that they are green. Now, as you well know that green plants typically in the wintertime when the temperature starts to drop, they turn into a different color. You have your yellows and orange colors. Reason being why they turn into that yellow color is because, not actually, let me back up a little bit. The yellow and the orange are actually there. They're present throughout the whole year, except that when the temperature begins to drop, the chlorophyll molecules, the chlorophyll pigments, begin to degenerate, and they basically fluff off and die off, exposing the underneath colors of xanthophyll, your yellow, and your carotenes, your dark orange and reddish colors. Okay, so to understand better how these pigments work in photosynthesis, let's take a look at this absorption spectra of the different pigments that we've just discussed. So let's look at chlorophyll A, for example. Chlorophyll A you know to be a green pigment. So let's follow that dotted line. So you'll notice here the percentage of light absorbed, so 100% absorption. So if the light reaches up here, that means that that color is pretty much completely being absorbed. And then the lower you go down into the graph, the lower that color is absorbed. So for example, chlorophyll A, it's absorbing, but for the most part, all of our purples, our blues, and then it starts to kind of lower on the lower shades of blue, okay, and then our greens. So there is no absorbance of green. So chlorophyll A, so if our plant is made out of mainly chlorophyll A, it's absorbing mostly blue, and it's not absorbing any green or yellow. So and during the springtime, this green chlorophyll pigment is present in the plant. So the plant, it's reflecting green. So our eye is going to see the color green. And then as we start getting into the winter months, that green pigment begins to degrade, and then our yellows start to show. Okay, and you'll see here that this particular plant, it's still absorbing some of the dark yellows and lighter oranges, and the darker orange that we get, the less it absorbs. So in the wintertime, it starts to show our orange and yellow colors. So let's take a look at that green plant. Okay, so again, the green plant is absorbing the full color spectra, which we see as pure light, right? When we see light, we don't necessarily see the rainbow. We just see transparent light. So the plant will absorb the full color spectra, as we mentioned before. All these pigments, the different pigments are being absorbed, except the color that we perceive, the human eye perceives, which is green. All right. So let's look at these different colors. What actually is color? Okay. If you look at color, what we're looking at here is we're looking at the visible spectrum. This is actually a full spectrum. And the only part that's visible to the human eye is this little sliver right here. Okay. So if I look at cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, you know, the last time you went to a doctor to get an X-ray or a dentist, you don't actually see those rays. They're invisible to the human eye. Ultraviolet rays, as they come through the sun, from the sun, you don't see that. But then from ultraviolet, you start getting into the violet. Okay, we see violet, we see that color, and we see blues, greens, yellow, and orange and red. And then just past red, we have infrared, and we can't see that color. We can't see microwaves, radio waves, radar waves. So let's highlight a couple of these colors. Let's highlight the violet, which is about 400 nanometers long, the wavelength, the green, and the red. Okay, so as we take a look at these waves, here I kind of have a rough drawing of what the waves would look like. A 400 nanometer wave, you know, this isn't the scale, of course, but you know, it's about this distance from this wave crest to that wave crest is about 400 nanometers. And then you go down the line to a green, okay, right? Green is over to the right, so that's a larger wavelength. From this crest to that crest is about 550 nanometers. And then we have our reds, which are it's a much longer wave, okay? But it's still visible to the human eye. So And just below the red waves, okay, we have our radio waves, which is an even bigger wave, which goes off the screen. But then going up to the top, you have our gamma rays, which are radioactive waves, and you can see how short these wavelengths are. And there's a super high frequency, so they can actually cause some damage. They can cause cancer. In chemistry class, we'll explore greater how these gamma rays can actually affect. Actually, we don't even have to wait till chemistry. Later on, when we talk about DNA, we can talk about how gamma rays affect the human body. So again, these are these colors that we see are nothing more than energy waves that have different frequencies. Okay. So again, our gamma rays and our radio waves are way off the spectrum of what we can see. Okay, but they're still related. Okay, so if you look at our radio wave here, radio waves are about a meter long, super long waves and harmless. Okay, broadcast, if you have an antenna on your TV, you're getting a broadcast signal. Those are longer waves that are invisible to the human eye. So again, looking at our carotenes, it's absorbing the spectrum and it's reflecting our oranges and our yellows. Okay, so if I look at it compared to our graph here, so here's my carotene. I'm absorbing all of my violets, my blues, okay, but I'm not absorbing any yellow, any light orange. I am absorbing some orange, but then as I get to my darker and red oranges, I'm not absorbing any of it, and that's exactly what I can see. Okay, that's what the human eye perceives, those nice burnt orange colors. And the same thing goes for our chlorophylls, right? Our chlorophylls are absorbing all the blues, but not absorbing any of the green. Okay, and this applies to all kinds of objects. Anything that has a color, it's absorbing that particular wavelength, but except the color that you see, right? That's whatever the human eye is perceiving. Okay, be it an apple, a fruit, a car. Next time you go to the grocery store, look at the different types of bell peppers that, you have yellow, oranges, greens, reds, oranges themselves, apples, peppers. Nature gives us all these colors, and you can see the different pigments that are in nature. And then you have the the less appealing colors. You know, I'm not, as you can see, I'm not a big Laker fan there, so give you that bloodshot eye. Um, but in principle, anything that you see that has a color works under this principle. You're basically seeing a wavelength that your eye or your brain is perceiving as a color. Okay? That does it for pigments of photosynthesis. Good luck in your studying.